So the ascent of water from the roots to the top of the plant. So we have some things that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the principles, right, that underline these factors. So looking at root pressure, right? So root pressure is the osmotic pressure within the cells of the root system that pushes water through the plant. So what we're looking at, it's generated by the minerals, right? Remember the water potential gradient that I set up that can create the root pressure, right? So that creates a push of water from outside to the inside of the plant, pushing water into the vascular bundle, right? And that will create some amount of root pressure, right? So the mechanism specifically, we have mineral uptake. So the roots absorb mineral ions from the soil, right? Which are actively transported, active transport through those proteins, right, into the xylem. And osmosis now, right, allows for water to flow, right? And it follows the minerals into the xylem via osmosis, creating this positive pressure that pushes water upwards, right? So looking at here now, water pressure, root pressure can move water up short distances in small plants and seedlings, but not sufficient for large trees. So we're gonna look at the systems that help for the movement of water through large trees, right? So here we have root pressure here, okay? We're testing the water level within the glass tube specifically, and after a while the water potential gradient is set up in the roots, and we see that the water level rises, right, as water is pushed into the vascular bundle. All right. Capillarity, right, or what we call capillary action in some cases, right? Capillarity is the ability of water to move up narrow tubes against gravity due to interactions between the water molecules. So we spoke about in Unit 1 biology the adhesion and cohesion of water due to its polarity and the position and bond angles of hydrogen and oxygen in a water molecule. So you should remember these things. So adhesion is the ability of water molecules to stick to the walls of the xylem vessels, and cohesion would speak to the water molecules sticking to each other via hydrogen bonding, right? So we're looking at the fact that capillarity helps for water to move up or rise up these xylem vessels, right? So the higher water can rise due to capillary action, right? So the higher water can rise. So xylem are usually narrow. However, alone, capillary can account for water ascending to the heights, right? But what actually account for this? What can stick what is causing the water molecules to move up, right? Via its adhesion and cohesion. Yeah.
So is the transpiration.
So transpiration is what is driving the water molecules to up, right? Lovely. So transpiration pull. So we're looking at this. This is the primary factor for the ascent of water within large systems, right? So the primary reason for the ascent of water, right? So it's created by the evaporation of water at the leaf surfaces, which causes the loss of water molecules, which will actually drag the successive water molecules through the plant, right? So evaporation, right? Water evaporates from the mesophyll cells, right, through the air spaces. I think we looked at that before as well, right? CSET biology, right? So it evaporates through the stomata, and that creates a negative pressure within the leaves, right? So since the loss of water molecules will create a negative pressure within the leaves, right? The leaf will know what will have happen, right? Is a pool of water molecules from the xylem into the leaf to replace that pressure, right? To create a more positive pressure, right? So as water leave the leaves, right? We're gonna have water being pushed in to replace it, right? So we're gonna have a continuous column due to cohesion and adhesion that drags water through the xylem up towards the plant, the leaves from the roots, right? So it is the most significant force for driving the ascent of water, right, to great heights, right? So we're looking at that. So at the roots here, we have the absorption of the water via osmosis, right? And we know that via active transport, right, the ions will set up the osmotic gradient, right, or the water potential gradient for root pressure. And then within the cell, the stem now rather, Adhesion, cohesion of water molecules are going to be the primary characteristic that allows for transpiration pull to create a column of water that always continues to transport itself towards the top of the plant, right? So we have that there. So that is really describing the ascent of water to these great heights. Alright? We now must look at and include the role of the stomata in transpiration. So we know that stomata are small openings on the surface of leaves bordered by two guard cells. Generally, let me just say generally two guard cells, right? That control the opening and the closing, right? So they're here for gaseous exchange, for the exchange of carbon dioxide and water in and out. So carbon dioxide in, well, carbon dioxide and in, right? And water and oxygen out, right? Transpiration, now we know that water vapor exits through the leaves during well, through the stomata during transpiration, right? And the guard cells will regulate that opening specifically. So when the stomata are open, transpiration rate increases, enhancing transpiration pull. So let me ask a question now. At what times within the day would transpiration pull have the most effect?
When it's
Well,
very
I
sunny.
can say when it's hot.
When it's hot? Anything else?
When it's also
Normally,
windy.
Okay, hold on. So the raise hand, I think that would be better. Because I don't want persons to be answering all at once and then I don't hear some responses. Alright, you guys can tell them chat. Go ahead.
When it is also windy, sir.
Windy, right? So talking about the temperature, right? As temperature increases, the rate of transpiration increases, right? Looking at air movement or wind, right? The windier it is, the rate of transpiration increases. Anything else? There are two more that I'm looking for. Two more. Humidity, lovely, right? So the concentration of water molecules outside the leaf, right? It will create a steeper concentration gradient for diffusion. Right. So the lower the humidity, the higher the rate of transpiration. What is the last one? Go ahead.
Light intensity, sir.
Lovely. And explain that to me.
Okay, so it also has to do with the stomata. We know that potassium ions, when in the presence of light, potassium ions will move into the stomata, and that will cause a lower water potential, which then causes water to enter the stomata, causes it to become turgid,
Enter the
swollen.
guard cells.
Yes,
Okay, lovely.
and that will open the stomata and allow water to diffuse.
Lovely. So the presence of light. Alright, what a lovely explanation. Alright, so the light will cause the potassium ions to enter, creating a more turgid structure, right, which will lead to the opening of the guard cells. Lovely. Alright, so we have that there. So that is really it for looking at the ascent of water.